Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are. Welcome to a new DC live stream. I'm your host, Matt Batiri, here with my co-host, Wasim Debussy. How are you, my friend?
I'm outstanding. How are you, Matty?
Absolutely great as well, mate. It's been a big week, as always. Bitcoin looks like it wants to break down, but it's holding on by a very thin needle right now. So I'm hoping we break down so we can catch some cheaper Bitcoin, but we will have to wait and see because the stock market is looking absolutely horrendous at the moment. So I'll be showing the stock market a little bit later. See what I'm seeing on the stock market, and it looks like we are going to see some pretty bad times ahead in the S&P. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, mate, it's no surprise keeping in mind the CPI that came out a couple of weeks ago, the new Fed hike of 0.75 basis point or 75 basis points, I should say. So there's a lot of banks out there increasing rates, and there's a lot of pain coming for the people out there in the coming future, in the short term.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, we're here to discuss the news, Twitter highlights, adoption highlights. We're going to have a quick look at the charts. But before we do, if you're watching us on YouTube or LinkedIn, make sure you head over to Facebook, join our free group. We have over 914 members in here dropping content daily. So if you want to get your quick fix on what's hot, what's not, what scams are currently out there, feel free to check out Decrypting Crypto Blockchain, Cryptocurrencies and Digital Assets Made Easy. Head over to Facebook. But without further ado, I'm going to get Wasim to jump straight into the news.
Alrighty, thank you very much, Matty. Okay, guys, so look, starting off this week, we've got the US Fed Reserve raising interest rates by excuse me, guys, got a bit of a cold. 0.75 percentage points as they seek to rein in inflation. So this is the third time in a row that the Fed Reserve raises interest rates to try and rein in reserve. And the funny thing is they keep talking about that they need to bring down the inflation to 2%. And now they're talking about that they even might bring up the interest rate up to 3.25%, which is going to be one of the highest interest rates we've had in many, many years. The central bank is now looking at predicting that they'll reach up to 4.4% by the end of this year and won't start coming down to 2024. So we're looking for another at least 15 months of high interest rates. People pay more for bills. People may pay more on their mortgages, on their loans, on their car loans, etc. And this is all to try and curb the high inflation. Now, Jerome Powell goes on and says, we have got to get inflation behind us. I wish there was a painless way to do that. There isn't. We have always understood that restoring price stability will achieve. While achieving a relatively modest increase in unemployment and soft landing would be very challenging, and we don't know, no one knows whether this process will lead to a recession, or if so, how significant the recession would be. Now, the funny thing is, the same guy, Jerome Powell, was also the same guy talking about that inflation is only transitory. Talk about only created by the pandemic, and inflation is only transitory, and we're going to get through it. But the reality of the matter is, the inflation has been caused by world governments printing way too much money and deflating reducing the purchasing power of our money. So, JP Morgan executive chief, he says, I think there is a chance, not a big chance, a small chance of a soft landing. They've been talking about this soft landing. Now, soft landing means they don't have a huge employment, we don't have a huge recession, but we can bring down the growth to the 2% inflation mark which they get. Now, I've got to remember we're about 8.7%, I think it is, at the moment. So they got to bring down inflation by about 6% before they can get to a place where they're comfortable. So Jamie Dimon goes on to say there is a chance of a mild recession, there is a chance of a hard recession, and because of the war in Ukraine and uncertainty in global energy and food supply, there's a chance that it could be worse. Because I think he goes on to say, I think policymakers should be prepared for the worst, so we take the right action if and when that happens. So even the big guys out there, guys, they are also, they're getting ready for something huge coming. There's going to be major crashes, some major impact on the market is going to cause even more pain for a lot of people. So the smart money is preparing, and this is what we should be doing right now. Moving on, Coinbase. Now, Coinbase is a company that has been on a mission as they grow. So now they've been able to. They've announced on Thursday that they've received registration from the Netherlands Central Bank, meaning that they are now approved to provide crypto services in the Netherlands. This isn't the first time that Coinbase has been able to get such approvals. They are now in over 40 countries in Europe, and things like they were able to get licensing from Italy. They're going after Spain and France, and they're already in other 40 countries. Now that doesn't mean that Coinbase is out of the hot water. They have already posted $1.1 billion in losses in Q2, and they've already let go about 18% of their employees. And one of the Coinbase former managers has been arrested for insider trading and lawsuits against the company about making negative, deceptive claims about the business practices. So, although they're going hard, they are still being attacked by regulators. So, good luck to Coinbase, and we'll see where they go. Next one, we've got Binance receives another license to offer crypto services in Dubai. So Binance is another exchange that's been working really hard on expanding and growing all around the globe, and sees these been meeting with presidents and heads of state all over the world. We've seen it all over his Twitter, and now they've been able to get even more services over to in Dubai. So originally they can have a money account for domestic banks, but now they can offer things like custody, fee. They can convert crypto to fiat. They can transfer crypto assets, have custody of crypto assets, as well as virtual tokens. And now they're looking at not just the retail investors, but now they're looking at servicing the institutional investors. So CZ came out and said, at Binance, we welcome regulators that are global, that are globally consistent, that enable responsible innovation, protect users, and give them choice. So another exchange is going hard, expanding, which just tells me that regardless of whether we're in a bull market or a bear market, the growth and the adoption of cryptocurrency is going to continue happening. Don't worry, don't look at the price action, look at what's actually happening on the ground, and you'll know why we're so bullish on crypto. Next up, we've got Uniswap Foundations launches the first wave of grants to $1.8 million. Now, if you don't know what Uniswap is, they are the world's largest decentralized exchange. So out there in the world, there are two types of exchanges. You've got a centralized exchange like your Binance, like your Coinbase, FTX, Swift. There's hundreds of them out there. And then you've got your decentralized exchanges. So things like Uniswap, PancakeSwap, SundaySwap, QuickSwap. There's a lot of decentralized exchanges out there. The difference between the two is a centralized exchange. You need to provide your ID. You need to provide all your information to be able to trade them. A decentralized exchange, you don't need to do that. You just connect your crypto wallet, and you can automatically trade with no limitation. So Uniswap is one of those, and it's the biggest decentralized exchange in the world. And they've brought up their Uniswap Diamond, which is like it's a fund to grant innovation in the crypto space. So it allows people to come up with new innovations and they can add onto their exchange, which gives people more and more usage. And now they've got $1.8 million that they're out there promoting to help attract more developers into there. A spokesman from Uniswap came out and said, we're particularly excited about this grant because he represents the kind of ambitious, high-impact, long-term oriented work that the newly created foundation is uniquely able to support. We are also thrilled to build a stronger tie between GFX Labs and a talented development team that has already shown strong commitment to Uniswap and the ecosystem as a whole. So they're looking for organizations that can come in and add more value and develop on their exchange, and that's why they've got the $1.8 billion grants out there. Moving on, Cardano, and this hasn't been very big in the news, but Cardano has had its Vasil hard fork upgrade, and this is quite a significant upgrade for the sun for Cardano. And the reason for that is because it can now finally deliver smart contracts for its users. So one of the challenges of Cardano when it launched was that it's a bit slow, that you didn't have smart contract capability, so it wasn't really a strong competitor. Now, if you guys have been listening to us for a while, you know how much I love Cardano. I love the method. I love the ethos that Charles Hoskinson has, which is to help and his main focus is Africa, which is to help those developing countries be able to have financial inclusion. So this is going to allow for smart contracts, which should now and make the network faster for the user, which is going to open up many, many doors for Cardano. And that's it for the news highlights. Over to you, Manny. I was about to start the adoption highlights.
No worries, mate. I think your mic's a bit choppy as well. We're going to have to try and fix that. And he's also coughing on stream. Look, you got to give the guy props. He's working on a day and where he's not feeling too good. And he's also been not sleeping much lately. So he's doing really well turning up to these live streams. He missed yesterday's, so we apologize for that. But I'm sure he'll be back next week feeling a whole lot better, hopefully. Alrighty, on to the Twitter highlights. First by Tristan Snell, watch large protests in Russia against Putin's attempt to call up 300,000 more soldiers for his failing invasion of Ukraine. They're chanting no to war. Look, this news on top of Biden saying that he would send troops to Taiwan if China was to invade. There's a lot of niggling right now in the world. I feel like we're back in high school. And it's sad to see that we are probably on the brink of, World War III if things get really bad. And I'm going to highlight the effect that this has a little bit later on the stock market, because the stock market right now is looking a lot worse than Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is just showing signs of a fake sort of rally. I think we're more than likely going to go lower now because there's no good news around the world. Interest rates have gone up. Possibly another war between China and the US if they don't remove themselves from the Taiwan Sea. Things are looking pretty meek at the moment. So all this news is going to lead to a bit of a crash, and we kind of covered that, I think, on Tuesday. So I'm going to go through the charts and show you how money is flowing out of the stock market at a rapid rate. Next, we've got a tweet from Lisa Abramovich. I gave it my best go, Lisa. I apologize. She says the gap between 2-year and 10-year Treasury yields is now at the most inverted since 1981. Now, we spoke about inverted yield curves a long time ago, and when they invert, it usually is a precursor to recessions. And it's happened, however many times we've had recessions in the past. The largest ones were obviously the Great Depression, around about the 2000 mark, 1981 as well. So basically, it's been confirmed that we're in a recession. I know the news tries to not use that word and tries to talk about the economy not being, in a bad place. But all economies are suffering. Everyone's putting up their interest rates to try and take back the money that they gave away during the COVID lockdowns. And it's putting extreme pressure on everyone. And it's pretty scary to see. We'll see what the news say, but I know that the cost of living is going to be going up pretty substantially worldwide in the not too distant future. Willie Wu says, hashtag Bitcoin says to JPM. Fiat is centralized pyramid scheme flowing money from the bottom to the top, which are the bankers licensed to dilute the money supply and charge interest on it. So basically, it's talking about, JP Morgan CEO said that, Bitcoin was a decentralized Ponzi scheme, and he's always been vocal against it. But these days, JP Morgan is very focused on utilizing blockchain technologies for their financial services. They're, I think, even trying to come out with their own coin. And basically, he's been saying that I think the first thing he ever said was if he ever found someone in his business trading Bitcoin, he would fire him. but really they were investing on the back end. So there's a couple of really smart guys. If you do a bit of a Google research, there's a guy that takes you through basically lots of huge news headlines, like JP Morgan saying, the Bitcoin was a fraud, but really at the same time, they were purchasing Bitcoin the same day that they were doing basically market manipulation. But because the crypto market isn't regulated like the stock market, they don't even get a slap on the wrist. It's not even talked about because they can do whatever they want here. So there's always a good saying. There's always a good saying about follow what they do, not what they say. Did you want to say something?
I think it's important to note here, guys, that a lot of these big banks and these large institutions, they have a vested interest to keep the price of Bitcoin low, keep people out of cryptocurrency so that they can get in. They tried to fight it off for many, many years, and now they've realized that it is here to stay. It is coming. So now they're using their secondary tactics, which is to scare the retail person away from crypto so they can capitalize on it. And then when the retail does come back in, and they've put a lot of money in, it kind of makes it harder for the average person to get in. Don't listen to these guys. Do your own research. Learn about Bitcoin. I can't stress how important I believe it is for every single person to learn about Bitcoin, to learn about crypto, to understand what is happening in the world and what's going to happen in the future. And to end today's stream, we're going to give you guys an option to an invitation to come to our next live event where we're going to go through all of this.
Thanks for Sim.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the next tweet by the project. Iran has shut off the internet in parts of Tehran and Kurdistan and has blocked all access to Instagram and WhatsApp in an attempt to curb protests that have relied on social media to document dissent. So basically what's happening over there is there was the death of Masha Amini last week after being severely beaten by morality police over hijab laws, and it's brought protests all over Iran. Women are now cutting their hair and burning their hijabs to send a strong message to the government to end the ongoing harassment and discrimination against women. Now, why this kind of relates to crypto, I guess it's more so decentralization. Now, you would have known in the last 12 months, I guess the biggest form of suppression was President Donald Trump being removed from Twitter and Facebook. No, I don't agree with what he said. But, for a country that's really big on freedom of speech, they really kind of went against that. I don't even know if it's an amendment, freedom of speech, but it's really high up on like their values as a country. And if we are suppressing, now that we have, gone so far to bridge communication gaps between countries by having the internet, FaceTime, the internet, all that type of stuff, we're now trying to suppress clans of people that have the same belief in something and trying to suppress them, and women obviously in Iran. It's really bad to see. So this is why I like projects, for example, like Theta Network and their native token T Fuel, because it's basically replicating YouTube. It's a decentralized video streaming platform. I think they do a few other things as well, but basically no matter what type of content, you'll be able to post on there. And of course, there needs to be age restrictions to protect, kids and stuff like that. But we're in an age now where, countries shouldn't have the power to restrict access to certain websites. I know China does it. They don't allow Facebook. They've got their own social media thing, WeChat. So it's just really sad to see that we still have a lot of countries trying to stop people being connected because it can cause riots. But this is obviously a bad example, but it's becoming more and more prevalent censorship. So, Wasim, you want to butt in again?
Yeah, look, I think I totally agree with you about decentralization, but it's more than that. The thing with cryptocurrencies and decentralization is that, especially a coin like Bitcoin, which nobody owns, the more people that use Bitcoin as a store of value or a medium of exchange, the less power anybody has to confiscate it. Our dollars, our money, no matter what country you're in, the government has power to freeze your bank accounts, to confiscate your money, confiscate your gold, but they have no power to do that with cryptocurrencies. which then makes it very, very easy for people to be able to have freedom of speech and be able to say whatever they want and be able to promote their own beliefs and so forth. So I think the underlying message here is that when we take the power away from governments through money, then the governments will have to have the people's best interest at heart.
Totally agree. All right, moving on to the last tweet. We have Watcher Guru. Bank of England warns the UK may already be in a recession. So these guys increased their interest rate by 50 basis points. We see them covered in the news highlights before. America did 75 the other day. We're going to look at the Bitcoin chart and see the volatility that occurred that night. I basically called it to the T. What was going to happen in regards to a bit of a fake pump to the upside and then a huge dump. You should see the 1 minute candles, but this is just more validation that the economy is doing really bad. A recession is obviously present in multiple countries, and they're not talking too much about it on the news because they don't want to freak people out. But in the back end, we're not hearing about a lot of things. More homelessness here on the Gold Coast where I live. People can't afford rent or purchasing houses, so caravan parks, trailer parks, tents, like everything is kind of being sold out or booked out because people are having to move out of their rentals to live in these types of places and live out of tents in some cases because they can't afford basic needs, and it's getting pretty sad. But a lot of this stuff isn't shown on the news because they don't want to freak people out, because recessions occur when people stop spending money. We need to really spend money to get out of this. And this is why, eventually when we start getting out of this recession, interest rates will drop. So therefore, people are going to feel more confident in order to borrow money, to spend money. And this, in order to get out of the shit we're in, we actually got to spend money. But with all the fear that we're seeing, people starting to hold on to their cash because they fear worse to come, losing their job and so forth. So it's unfortunate that that's how society works and the current economy works. And this is why we keep talking about Bitcoin and having a decentralized form of currency to have peer-to-peer transactions where we can build our own economy, where the supply is not inflated through quantitative easing. It's going to be a fixed supply, and the value obviously is volatile, goes up and down, but we've all seen the Bitcoin chart. It's up and to the right. It's going to keep going. Even if you bought at the all-time high, it's more than likely in 4 years' time, you're going to be at least break even or in profit. And you can look at the 12-year history of Bitcoin, and that's been shown. So that's it. I think I started going on a rant, so I pulled myself back out of the rant. I'm going to bring Wasim back in. He's going to go into the adoption highlights.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Maddie. And I love your rants because I think you had a lot of value in there. Guys, next up we have the adoption highlight, and the first one in our adoption highlight is Opera browser integrates all-around blockchain services to bolster Web3 adoption. So if you don't know who Opera is, Opera is a browser like Chrome, like Brave, like Edge. What else is there? I think is Netscape still around? I don't know if Netscape's still around. But Opera is another browser that's out there that you can download and use on your computer. And they have been working with a number of blockchains. So now they've partnered up with Elrond. They've also partnered up in the past with we've integrated Ethereum, they've integrated Bitcoin, BNB chain, as well as Polygon. And their spokesman had come out and said, our aim is to be an understandable and secure entry point for Web3 for anyone interested in crypto. This also means we've provided a wallet selector feature that lets our users choose which wallet they want to use to interact with a particular dApp. A dApp is a decentralized application. So Opera has integrated a number of wallets into their browser because they understand that this is the future of the internet, and more people are going to use browsers to be able to interact with Web3 protocols. Last thing they said, we've provided I've already read that one. So yeah, that's it from Elrond. Moving on to the next one is the first wedding in the metaverse concludes in Sandbox celebrates the happiness. So we've been talking quite a lot about, as we move into this new world that we're living in, this whole new technology, metaverse, Web3, decentralization, all the jargon that we use and all the jazz that we talk about. And now it's the first time that a guy by the name of Clarence Chan and a girl by the name of Joanne Tam married in the metaverse, courtesy of a partnership between Sandbox and One Group and Smobler Studios. So what they did was they created a replica of a mansion called the Alcaf Mansion in Singapore, which is one of the most spectacular mansions out there, and people love to have their weddings there. They've created a replica of it in the metaverse, and then what they did was they allowed people coming from all over the world to come to the wedding, but also local people were in the wedding in the metaverse as well as physically in the hotel. So this allowed for a unique experience and first of its kind where someone truly gets married in the metaverse. So this is just a great example of what's to come and the new opportunities. Imagine being able to have a wedding and be able to invite your family and friends from all over the world to attend it virtually and be there with you, and you can talk to them live and they can be there for the celebrations, and then you can have that for life and replay anytime you want. Alrighty, next one is Funko and Warner Brothers. Could this be the best NFT partnership in the crypto space? So Funko, we've spoken about a couple of times here on Decrypting Crypto. We've mentioned they've done other collaborations with other big brands. Like I think one of them was oh god, I'm trying to remember the name of the other one. I did one a couple of weeks ago. It will come to me. But now they've done one with Warner Brothers, who actually owns the DC Comics. And what they're going to do now, they're going to create physical as well as virtual NFTs to represent these comics and then be able to sell them exclusively at Walmart. It's not the first time that these large companies have looked at doing NFTs. And if you guys remember what I said on Tuesday, we went to the Oz Crypto Convention and we saw so many companies using NFTs to be able to get more and more customers or attract more customers. Even Australia Zoo is looking at doing it. Now, what these guys are going to do is find ways which people can hold a physical as well as an NFT to represent the ownership of a comic, and then be able to bring that out to the masses. So that's it from that one. Moving on, we have UNICEF Giga NFT to connect schools to developing countries to the internet. So one of the things that I love about the crypto space is it attracts a lot of philanthropists. It attracts people that want to do better in the world. So UNICEF has partnered with partnered with Giga NFT. To create NFTs where people can buy these NFTs, and then that money then goes over and helps countries or schools that don't have access to the internet. Even though the internet has widely grown, there's still a huge number, and I think they cited something like 2.9 billion people that still don't have a stable internet connection. So they've used satellite imagery to find schools around the world that need the internet, and then they've raised over $700,000 from just selling these NFTs, and then the NFT holder can actually see when that money has been taken out of the NFT and used to be used in the school. So NFTs is showing a great way for people to for new ways for people to use the NFTs to do fundraising, to create communities, to create customer engagement, customer loyalty. We've said this in the past, we'll say it again. The NFT space is just starting, and there's so much more to come. Lastly, but not least, is we have Argentinian airline Flybondi to adopt NFT technology for ticket issuance. So one of the things that we've spoken about in the past is more and more sporting organizations or more ticketing organizations are using NFTs to provide their tickets. This is just another way of doing another new company doing it. So they are a budget airline over in Argentina. And what they're doing now, they're going to allow their members to buy their tickets through NFTs and then be able to sell them on a secondary market up to 3 days before. So this gives people the peace of mind that they can sell their ticket. Now today, if you can't make it to a flight, then chances are you forfeit. I know I had to do that last weekend. I was supposed to go to Queensland on Friday. Something came up, which was my son's graduation. I couldn't refund that ticket. I just had to buy a new ticket and forfeit the other one. Now, with things like this, I would have been able to sell my ticket to somebody else who wanted to get on that flight and be able to do it through secondary market. And this could be one of the reasons why things like this is what's going to bring up the NFT hype all over again in the next bull run, in my opinion. And that's it from the adoption highlights. And over to you, Matty.
Thank you, mate. All right, we are nearly there, guys. Thank you for sticking with us. And we are currently looking at the very sorry S&P 500. So I want to point something out to you guys about the S&P. Let me go back to weekly, actually. So on the weekly scale, this indicator here is called market size. And we've got these green waves, and then we tend to get these red waves. When we're in these red waves, we are basically entering a recession or a depression. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly pop some vertical lines every time we've crossed from the green wave to the red wave. And then we're going to look at what the price action showed on the corresponding chart. So I've just marked out 3. Let me see if this chart will load up anymore. Let's go back here. We had one more here, and then we'll just do this one right here. Okay. So if I correspond the above these lines to what's happened in the market, we can see that these were huge drawdowns in the economy. So if I quickly just do some small little percentage measurements, this dump right here was 16%. This one back here, if I go from the line, let's just say it was 51%. So that was a pretty big one in 2009. Then we've got the December crash. That was 44%. Then we've got an 84 and 81 back here. So let me just bring this into light like so. I could just press log, but I decided to make it harder. So this drawdown wasn't huge because we'd already gone down. That was 6%. But if we go from top to bottom, that was 14%. And then this one from top to there, that we were looking at 23%. And from top to bottom, about 28%. So if we quickly now look at the current price action of the S&P, so far the drawdown that we've had is we've had 24%. Now, with the history that we've just looked at, a maximum of 50%, and that was basically 50% from the time that we crossed. Let's just do 50% from the top to bottom. We're looking at, the stock market crashing a lot further, maybe coming back down to these levels where we had some support back in, when was that? This was the COVID crash. So we're looking at, it wouldn't surprise me if we come all the way back down to the COVID crash, right? Because the COVID crash is where all the money printing started. So we had this really inflated supply of money, and the stock market went from 2,200 to 2,800. So basically doubled, which is very unsustainable, especially for the S&P stock market. It doesn't double that quickly over the span of multiple years. It took, if we're looking about from 1,000 to 2,000, where's 1,000? From 1,000, is this 1,000? But we'll just go from here. We'll go from here. It took Bitcoin. Where's 2,000? About here. So Bitcoin basically doubled from 1,000 to 2,000 over, what's that? 1,532 days. So I think that's about 5 years. It doubled from 1,000 to 2,000. Now from here,
is that Bitcoin or is that the S&P?
This is the S&P. This is the S&P.
Well, you said it took Bitcoin to double in 1,000 days. Is that right?
No. The S&P. The S&P. From 1,000 basis points to 2,000 basis points, it took 1,500 days.
Okay. You were mentioning Bitcoin. That's why I was confused. So
sorry, my apologies. And then from here, from the COVID crash, so 2,300 to, let's say, 4,600, right about here, 4,600, it took basically 574 days. So just under 2 years. So we went from, doubling from 1,000 to 2,000 over like 5-6 years. And we doubled once again at an exponential rate because the figures are getting higher here. It's easy to double 1,000 to 2,000, but 2 to 4 is a big jump. It's becoming like an exponential curve. So the money printing and inflation is probably gone way too high. Now, if we do come down right to these levels and then we come back up, and then we may even have a very long drawn out depression because we now have a head and shoulders pattern. And if we were to do, if we were going off technicals of what people would like to draw, and you don't really see head and shoulders on an asset class like this because it's something that just goes, continuously goes up. We could see the stock market come back down to, 2011 lows, which is when the GFC actually was occurred. We all remember the GFC from 2007 to like 2010. We were coming out of the GFC. We could come back down to GFC numbers for the stock market, which, that would create a lot of fear in all markets. And this is why, obviously, with Bitcoin, things are looking quite shaky. I don't see it's going below sort of, 13,000. But then again, if we go into a depression, we could see, a 4-figure Bitcoin real easy. And that would create the same sentiment that I had when I invested in crypto when we hit here. This is where I had despair, and I had 0.75 Bitcoin left over from my 2.15 Bitcoin purchase back in 2017. Because a good story for all you guys, I diluted all my profits, bought some Ethereum, and then got into ICOs. And then I lost a lot of money into ICOs because I had no idea what I was doing. I was just throwing money at projects that I was hearing about on Telegram and WhatsApp groups. And I ended up losing a lot of Ethereum and investing in shit projects. So right now, I don't feel what I felt back here. And I technically am still a retail investor. Like if Bitcoin did get down to like $3,000, I would be, quite fearful. But I do believe in the project a lot more than what I, knew about in 2017, 18, and 19. So I have conviction that I will stick around, but I don't have the conviction that we might even see, a 5,000 or lower Bitcoin. If we think about what the price was of the S&P back in 2010, where I showcased you, that's a basically 80% drop from the highs that we just had. And Bitcoin, usually every bull market and bear market comes back 85%. So could we see Bitcoin, retracing the same numbers that we see some altcoins, which is like 95%? 95% would be around about $4,000, $5,000. That could be totally normal, and I would not even blink an eye. I would actually purchase a lot of Bitcoin at that price, but that would make retail investors just go, holy shit, like my life is over, especially if you keep being told buy the dip. So the thing is why I, because I manage a lot of sort of funds for Breakout Solutions, and a lot of people like, oh, you think we're close to the bottom, so you back all in. In previous bull markets, I would have already been all in because I've looked at the history and I would have made a decision. But because this is the first potential recession / depression since Bitcoin was created, the game has changed. So because the game has changed compared to the last 12 years of statistics that I can look at, because we're now going into unprecedented, uncharted territories for cryptocurrencies, it's not a good time to just go all in, because we may go further. And I will continuously dollar cost average. I have a big buy order around 13,000, 14,000, but I'm also going to keep some on the sideline in case we see absolute capitulation around $5,000, where we see something. Look at this. Like imagine being invested in Bitcoin, then you hear about COVID, and then the next day that asset is like 65% down. That would be crazy. A lot of people would have just, thought that the end of crypto was nigh, but then we had a good recovery and then we kept going. This is what despair looks like. We haven't yet had it. We've had it a couple of times, I guess, here for the war, the declare of war, but I think when we hear worse news, if we hear China going to war with US, if we hear the US economy is absolutely shot, or they keep putting it up by half a percent or 75% basis points or whatever in the future, it's going to create some absolute fear in the market, which I haven't yet felt. And I have a diverse amount of assets that give me passive income, and I'm not yet scared to sell any of those assets. But if things get real nasty down here, it could freak some people out. All right, rant over. That's it from us. Last thing that we would like you to do is we have an upcoming, an amazing new workshop / webinar, the 5 crypto megatrends to catch for the next bull run that can help you live the life you want, or even knock off 10 years off your retirement age, as I like to say. Feel free to come to this event. we're presenting. We got 2 time slots, but you can grab the early bird access to our ebook by heading to this website, pop in your details, and then on the next page, you'll have the opportunity to join us for our free webinar where we'll be diving deep into this content, plus all the new products and services that we're offering as a business to our 1K day and our Millionaire Club members. So if you are a member or you're not a member, please attend that event. We can't wait to see you guys and show you all the new cool stuff that we are rolling out.
That's it, guys. As Maddie said, and as I've been saying, and as we continue to say, now is the time to learn and get involved. 3 years down the track, 2 years down the track, maybe even a year down the track, when we are out of what we are right now, people are going to turn around and they're going to say, oh, you guys are lucky you got in early. This is your time to get in early. This is your time to learn and start tipping your toes into the water to understand what's happening, because the future's coming and there's nothing going to stop crypto from taking over. So that's my genuine belief, and I would hope you guys can join us and learn a little bit about what we know and what we're seeing.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you Monday for Bitcoin and Ethereum TA and next Tuesday for our next DC live stream. Bye for now.
Peace out.